Because without access to proper health care, they cannot deliver these viable babies. And how do they get access? By putting up adequate infrastructure for health care and also funding adequately. And that was how we started in 2008 our free maternal health care service for every pregnant woman. We started this in 2008 and it's been on. Any pregnant woman that goes to any government hospital has free maternal health care service, such that at the time of delivery, they deliver babies that are viable. You might not understand this until I tell you my own personal experience, which I have shared with many people before, as a medical practitioner, when I was called to see a woman who was having difficulty delivery. Of course, when I got there, removed the cloth, there was a baby that was dangling in between the legs of this pregnant woman, or once pregnant woman. And what had happened, the woman was pregnant, the baby was to come out with the buttocks, what they call breech. Of course, she did register in the hospital. She went to the hospital and they said, because you didn't register, you have no money for cards, please go away. The alternative was for her to go to the traditional birth attendant. And what did that birth attendant do? Try to deliver the baby, delivered every part of the baby apart from the head. The head now got stuck in the womb. And she started dragging the baby, and the baby died. And the neck became very thin. That was how far she could go. The woman was now rushed to our clinic or to our hospital, and we had to deliver a dead baby's head and save the woman's life. But if that woman had access to a free health care service, that child would have been well delivered. And today, that child, this was about 24 years ago, that child will probably be a first-class graduate that is preparing to be a governor. So it is important that we have babies that are delivered. After delivery, for the first 28 days, what we call the neonatal period, we also have the free health care. And up to 5 years, we have the free health care for the children. So that when the children have adequate health care, they can grow up to be children that are acceptable in the society. Like I said, it is not just the freeness of these programs, but also building adequate infrastructure. And we have built a lot of adequate infrastructure across the state in the health sector. From about 5 onwards, it has to do with school, the education. Our first strategy when we came in was to ensure that every child in Delta has access to free primary and secondary education. Even the payment of WAEC and NECO we also embarked upon. And also to be able to get adequate teachers, because most of the teachers then were in the urban schools. So we did a redistribution, and we now found that there was deficiency in number of teachers. We now employed about 5,000 teaching and non-teaching staff. Of course, the next strategy was that of infrastructure. You will have noticed that we go around the state now, we are rebuilding many of our schools. For just opposite us here is our new model schools. We are rebuilding them, we are reconstructing them so that there will be an adequate environment for our children to learn. And then after secondary school, in our tertiary institutions, our children also have difficulty because of funding. So we increase our bursary from 10,000 to 20,000. A lot of scholarship schemes, even for the lawyers, we have a lot of scholarship schemes. And we started, after the university, the first-class graduate scholarship scheme, in which we give every first-class child from Delta scholarship to study anywhere in the world. We have that scheme. We have 34 students already across the world that are being sponsored by the state government, 5 million naira a year. The second set of first-class students will do the award program in the next few days. All these we are doing to ensure that we have an adequate workforce that are well trained. Apart from this formal schooling, we also have our vocational centers where we train those that do not have to follow the formal scheme. But having done all this, having left school, having been adequately developed, what happens? We now have the biggest challenge, and that is giving them employment. And this leads us to the third part, our third agenda, the infrastructure development. Our chairman, Mr. Elomelu, has told us that the state government and actually the federal government should create an enabling environment to encourage investors. That's exactly what we are doing. By concentrating or laying emphasis on development of infrastructure. In developing our infrastructure strategy, we looked at some key infrastructure, starting from power. We know that the federal government has no strategy on power, is doing a lot on power. So the first thing was to key into the federal government program. Of course, every state had to key into it. And as a state, we contributed 15.7 billion naira to the National Independent Power Program. We are there. There's one in Sapele. That's the one in Sapele is almost completed. 2 of the turbines are already working. Unfortunately, there's problem with the gas. So right now, I think they are producing about 125 megawatts of electricity. Now, that is on the National Independent Power Plant. But like you said, Delta has the highest number of power plants. We have 2. One, I'm happy that you're interested in, the Delta 4 power plant at Ughelli. We'll work with you on that to be able to get it and deliver it. We still have the other challenge of the Ogorode Independent Power Plant. Again, has the potential of producing 1,020 megawatts. But today, it's also producing less than 300. I don't even know whether the Ughelli one is up to 300. Between 200 and 300. And again, we have people who are interested in also privatizing it. We hope they will be given. But on one condition, sir, and that is when you eventually get it, when you are generating, we will sign an agreement that you must give us the power locally. We will not allow you to take everything away, because that's the problem we are having, that we generate this power and they are taking it out of the state. Number 2, we have the Okpaye power plant, which is producing about 540 megawatts, and nothing is dropping in the state as of today. It goes to Bosi, and of course it goes. But fortunately, Mr. President has approved a substation in Asaba here, 330 kVA substation in Asaba. Here we can get the power from Obosi. And with the 1322 kVA also being Asaba, eventually we'll be able to get the power down to this area. So we are hoping that by the time the federal government completes the 330 kVA, which was a lobby by many people around here, especially the Asaba and the Asaba son, we will have an improved power supply to Asaba and the Delta North axis. We also have, there's also a line coming from Ivogbo. Ivogbo is in Edo State, which is another independent power plant. When it's completed, one line will also come from there and supply the 330 kVA substation. So those are some of the federal government programs that we are keen into. But as a state, we're also embarked on building our own independent power plant. We would have gone far by now, but we had land issues. But fortunately, we now have the land which we are developing. We are already getting some of the equipment. The turbines are already coming in. Now, it takes 18 to 24 months for turbines to be manufactured. You have to first of all pay. So we paid, and they have been manufactured. A lot of the equipment are now coming in. And what we have also done, looking at what some other states are doing, where they generate power and it goes to the national grid, is to first of all get a license. So we are the only state in Nigeria today that has an off-grid license, so that when we start generating our power, we'll be able to get it to areas that are not on the national grid. And of course, for the real consumers of power, what is important to them is the distribution, that is transformers. We are purchasing several transformers. Some have started arriving that will soon put in various places where we do not have transformers. These are things we are doing in the area of power to improve on the power program. But finally, also on power, is that as a state, we have been able to identify areas in which investors can come and put power plants. About 9 sites, feasibility study, everything done. It's just for you to come in and put your power plant. So I'm saying it because of investors that have the money to bring in power plant. Then that's on power. So hopefully we shall have an improved power supply. The second strategy in terms of infrastructure is that of transportation. Our transportation involves ports, the seaports, airports, roads, railway. We are working very closely with the NPA to ensure that we dredge the Escravos Bar, which has been a big problem for ships coming in. And I can say safely that there's increased activity in the Warri port. We are trying to increase activities in the other ports, the Cocoa port, the Brutu port. As for airports, there's a 2-kilometer runway airport at Osubi. Osubi is very close to Warri. There was no airport in Asaba at the time we started. In actual fact, where the airport is today, it was bushy, was a big forest. But we believe that air transportation is critical for any development to be meaningful in Delta. It's a critical infrastructure. And because we have 2 economic hubs in Delta, first is Asaba, taking advantage of the Onitsha market as an economic hub. And again, Warri, taking advantage of the oil and gas activities as another economic hub. We believe that we needed to have 2 strategic airports in both places. We wanted to extend the runway in the Osubi airport, but we had problem taking it from Shell because they are the owners of the airport. But right now, we've been able to get another land, and we are developing a 4-kilometer runway on that close to the Osubi airport. And then the Asaba one, we also have an airport that is already in Asaba here. It's already taking planes. It will soon start taking bigger planes. One of the most modern airports in Nigeria today that we are proud of. And that is very, very viable. Now, so that is on port infrastructure. Then on roads, we have also been very strategic on the development of our roads. We took on roads that have economic importance or that are of economic importance. Yes, there are some social roads we tar to, but most of the roads we are taking on are roads that will either improve the agricultural activities of that area or other economic activities. The Asaba-Ogeli dualization road that we are doing is not because it is a state road, but we need to do it to be able to improve on the transportation from Warri Port to Asaba. And how did we do it? We sat down with the Onitsha market trader, they call themselves Amata. We sat down with them and we asked them, why do you have to import your goods from through other ports in Nigeria where you have Warri that is quite close? They gave us excuses, the channel, the cost of importing, but also critically the road network between Warri and Asaba cannot take those big lorries.